Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. This is episode 34. I'm your host, Christy Rosario, here in Los Angeles, California. My co-host is Richard Solomon, the boxing prophet in New York City. And our guest media panel host is the Denver Boxing Examiner, Stephen Johnson. Live callers, you can go call on 347-324-5998. You can Twitter us at Real Combat Media. My Twitter is Boxing Girl, BXINGIRL, or the Boxing Prophet at Boxing Prophet 68. Facebook, you can find us at Real Combat Media in the search bar. Our topics for this episode are Triple G versus Stevens recap. We will also preview Roman Rocky Martinez versus Mikey Garcia, Nonito Donaire versus Vic Darchinian, the rematch, and Demetrius Andrade versus Vanes Martirosyan that takes place this Saturday on HBO. Later in the show, we will be talking to rising undefeated junior middleweight Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius has his biggest fight of his career as he takes on Vanes Martirosyan Saturday on HBO. And hopefully, if he is here, I think he is. But up first, we have undefeated, hard-hitting middleweight world champion from Brooklyn, New York, Peter Kid Chocolate Quillin. Are you there, Peter?
Yep. Yes, I'm here.
Oh, very good. How are you today, Peter? Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I am super blessed and count my blessings every day.
Well, I heard. Is it true that your father is Cuban?
My dad is 100% Cuban, born and raised in Cuba.
Well, see, ever since I heard that, I just kind of wanted to call you Kid Chocolate. It just sounded, just kind of flowed. Could we do that, or are we just going to stick to the American version of Kid Chocolate?
No, a lot of Spanish Latins call me Kid Chocolate. So I feel happy. Makes me feel even more Cuban.
I like it, and you have the accent too. The way it rolls, it sounds very good. I like it. Well,
you want me to do an accent of my father, how he talks?
Oh, yes, please. I love Cuban accent.
Sometimes the guy, crazy guy, and I don't like to play for the guy, but the guy plays for me, and he no está supposed to do it.
Oh, I like it. It sounds very good like that. My father is Puerto Rican, but I love the Cubanos. I love it.
I just had a disagreement with a Puerto Rican girl today about why she thought Bacardi was originally Puerto Rican rum, and I said no. The original founders of Bacardi was.
You know what? I think you are right. I mean, and so what happened? Who won the bet? Did you have a bet, or you just kind of had a little disagreement?
Of course I did, because I told her, she was talking about where do I get my information from. I said not just Wikipedia, but my father, his wife in Cuba used to work at the Bacardi factory, and when Fidel Castro overthrew the government, the Bacardi factory, they took Bacardi and all that, out of the country, and it went to Puerto Rico, and I think there was a factory also in Mexico.
Wow. So now your father must not be happy that we call it the Puerto Rican rum, huh?
Sure, the factory is there now, so why not, They don't stop him from drinking it.
Oh, that's really cool. So you guys have a good relationship?
My dad is like my whole reason why I'm at where I'm at and why I stand firm in my beliefs because of him. I feel I feel super special.
That is so nice. And then you get all that passion from that Cuban side, and you get all the rhythm and all the good stuff, and the morals probably and the ethics.
Latin lover. That's what they call me. My nickname, the Latin lover. Well, my wife now. She calls me the Latin lover now.
She calls you. Well, I noticed when you're going in the ring and how you stop and you kiss her. And as a woman, it kind of makes my heart flutter. So that is very special. Thank
you so much. I appreciate that.
Well, I love that. It's, that is important. It's, we have guys that are fighting that think they're role models, but they're, throwing money at strippers. And then we have guys like you that are kissing your wife, going into the ring, and that's the kind of role model I want my kids to see,
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because sometimes, especially with all the, the attacks I've been getting on Twitter and everything, kind of makes me a little bit unhappy, knowing that I just basically been through everything to be where I'm at, and I get put under so much scrutiny under my position, you know what I mean? So it's just like, I really try to not to pay attention to it, but it's so sort of hard when you're so passionate about things. But I'll tell you, that get all erased when I hear stories like that, like what you just told me.
Oh, well, it's true. It's true. And, I'm really, like I was telling my son, and he's 13, and I was like telling him you were coming on, and he loves boxing, and he's like, he even almost wanted to call. I'm like, what are you going to ask? So I don't know if he'll call, but you are the perfect role model. So what I want to ask you, though, is, after it was Rosado, is that what's happening? Is that why you're getting some,
I'm getting it now, and I understand it's just basically the majority of his fans, but I hear it all the time as who I can't beat, who I'm going to get knocked out by, and all this type of stuff. So it's like, what I mean? Stuff that, boxing fans are aggressive people. You know what I'm saying? They sometimes may not know it, but I feel like being a boxer, you're always going to be criticized for your performance all the time. You can always throw more jabs. You can always move your head more. You can always do this. You can always do that. But funny thing about boxing, how I view it as, is like the shit happens the way it happens, and you sometimes you don't really got much control over situations when it happens. It's just about doing the right thing in the moment. You know what I mean?
Of course. And the haters are usually people that never stepped in the ring, never know what it's like to train.
My last tweet, I just said, I wish a lot of my boxing haters, we can switch jobs for a day so I can see how well I can be at their job and how well they can be at my job. And it'll be funny to see how many people will actually be able to take a punch in the face and know what to do.
Oh, my gosh, of course not, and then they can sit there and they can judge you, and they've never had to run early in the morning 6 days a week, never had to hit the pads and spar, and then making weight. Oh, my gosh. Is that an issue for you as well?
Well, I made weight my last time, and I cut out all the shit that people tell me to do, excuse my language, but they tell me to do this and do that, and I listen to it, and my last couple fights came in overweight, but this time I made weight really good. I felt good, and I did it myself. And what I learned by just being a professional boxer over the years and just did what I felt comfortable with. And I was just blessed that I'm able to go out there and just learn so much about who I am, my personality, my character, and what I really stand for.
Oh, that's good to hear, because I know, especially the food that you probably can eat, like the arroz con gandules, plátano fritos, all that stuff.
God.
Don't you like
You're getting me hungry. You know what's crazy?
You're
telling me this right now, and I'm actually like dipping and dabbing in. I got some cinnamon jacks, Kellogg's cinnamon jacks, and I put my hand in the box like a big kid and just eating it like without milk.
Oh my God! I knew you were eating something. Now I'm going to get you hungry for the Cuban food, though. Now you're going to go for the real food after we get off off the interview.
Yeah, better believe it.
Oh my gosh! Did you ever learn to cook any of that food?
I know how to make yuca, I know how to make congri, black beans and rice mole cristiano cooked together. I know how to make a lot of Cuban dishes, but since I've been away from my father, between me and you, I lost a little bit of the tradition of wanting to cook because I live in New York and everything is so easy. It's just like living, New York time is gone in a New York minute. It's really fast. So, New Yorkers always moving fast to get something done and moving around. We always grabbing food to go. And just saying, with my household, it's like I come in, I'm beat. That I just want to just chill. Like right now, getting ready for this interview, I was basically sitting down, putting everything in perspective, talking to my assistant about me because the job is never done. So I always got to work some details out about something. Like I'm going to travel back to Grand Rapids, Michigan, my original hometown, and doing stuff. I want to get to do something with my nieces and everything. And I was planning on, Saturday morning that I get to, get to do something with them. I got to figure out something special. They always like to go to the zoo or do something like that. I just would love to make sure I get to so they can experience some fun with me and everything, like I always do with them. And then they got me leaving 2 days after. 2 days before. I wanted to leave on Sunday, but they got me leaving Saturday night, and now I got to rebook a ticket that these people already paid for. I'm going to rebook and pay for a flight back on Sunday so I can have more time with my family, seeing them, because I don't know when the next time when we get to go home. So I like to just try to catch up and do. And then I got a new car coming, so.
Oh, my gosh, you have all these new things going on, and then you have your family. That's nice you have that support system, though, that you can go and be with your family. That's wonderful.
Yes.
I want to ask you, did you see the fight with Gennady Golovkin and Curtis Stevens? I'm sure you did.
I didn't get to, you know what happened? Just one second.
What happened?
What happened? I came home to watch the fight. I didn't get to see it because when the Cuban was the two heavyweights was fighting,
yes.
I actually was so beaten I fell asleep that I didn't get to catch the whole fight. And then I woke up like 1-something after the fight, and I went to Fight News and got the news. And it's sort of like a movie. When somebody spoiled a movie, you really don't feel like you want to catch up with the movie and everything. So I haven't caught the fight yet, but I heard it was an awesome fight, and I'm just glad to be able to see these type of fights being made in the middleweight division.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was very good. I thought Curtis Stevens did great. And what do you feel, though? Do you feel like you're ready to get in there with, is Triple G ready to get in there with you think?
Yeah, you know what, listen, I think if the fight was going to happen, then it would be $2 million like I want on the table already. And why would I say no to $2 million? So if the fight is going to be able to be made, and, with all the boxing politics, I don't like to get people excited. Like, I've been promised a lot of things for Christmas that I never got, so I just really don't like to make promises that I really can't keep. So I just feel like, once it can happen, then I know the fans will be excited for it, because it's a very exciting fight to be made. But a lot of boxing politics and, two different networks and two different promoters that's been having tons of beef that at this point, I wish the fight was, worth it for everybody to come to the table and to agree. So, for right now, I just feel like they just calling me out knowing that the situation behind the fight would not be able to be made because all the politics, Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao was one of the biggest fights to try to be made, and you couldn't get none of the parties to sit down at the table and come up with an agreement what will be able to be made.
Yeah, that's the problem, the politics. We want to forget about politics, and we want to get the best fights out there, don't you think?
Yeah, I think, like remember back in the day when, you used to see Sugar Ray Leonard and all those fighters fight on CBS or NBC. I wish it was back to those days, but unfortunately it's not. And, hopefully maybe I could be one of the fighters that can bring that back.
That would be great. Yeah, it bothers me that we have to, only have the fighters on HBO, only have the fighters on Showtime. We want everyone to mix up, and the best fighters should fight. That's what I think.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So, we have the Boxing Prophet on the line, and I know he's waiting to talk to you. So, Prophet, go ahead.
How are you, Peter? It's an honor to have you on the show. I used to live in Brooklyn. I actually grew up in Canarsie, lived there the first 10 years of my life. So it's always good to have someone representing Brooklyn on the show.
Oh, man, I'm glad to be on. I'm glad for, the Boxing Prophet to, give a call in and just spread his love. It's about peace and it's about love, and I'm spreading that, and I'm hoping to inspire kids from Brooklyn to, chase for their dreams and, get what they feel that they deserve.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. Christy and I were recapping the fight last week with you and Rosado. I thought, going into the fight and watching the fight, especially early on in the fight, it seemed, you had scored 11 knockdowns altogether in your three previous fights. You knocked down Hassan Nadam, Nijikam 6 times. And
Winky Wright 1 time.
Right, and Fernando Guerrero, you knocked down 4 times. I thought early in the fight you sort of believed too much in your power, that you really weren't throwing violent combinations. It was just one at a time, and you got to Rosado. You knocked him down early. but you didn't, you just were almost too cautious. You began to believe, with your own press clippings about the power, and Rosado slowly but surely was working himself back into the fight, throwing combinations, kind of outlanding you, not landing the more powerful punches, but sort of had the edge in volume punching. Do you think maybe you should have been more aggressive in the early going, just not to let Rosado get back into the fight?
Well, what happens is in the fight, like, I was happy to knock him down, but I never go in the fight thinking that I'm going to destroy a guy. I never admitted and said that I was Superman. I just know that I worked very hard to look like one Superman for 1 hour in my life. But, Rosado was determined. He put up a good fight against Triple G. He put up a good fight with a lot of the guys he fought, and he's very game. And I think, the fight happened the way it happened, and, it's a lot of things that I can learn from the fight, and that's the most important thing is I got to take from this fight and figure out what I can do to make myself an even better fighter. And, pulling out with the victory in the fight is important to me to know that, I did what I had to do to win, and the fight wasn't, fortunately was sort of close, and I had it a little closer than what the judge did, but I'm not a judge. I'm not a ring doctor, with the incident that happened with Freaky Lau and what I heard just happened with the Kazakhstan guy, these are the unfortunate reasons people don't know nothing about boxing, where they say, the doctors have to protect the fighters, guy just lost his life in the ring because, his corner didn't stop it, and, you can't, put everything on a fighter because the fighter fights till he's dead. Like I will fight to the death of me. So, you got to have people in the sport of boxing to be able to protect the fighters, to be able to fight another day. And unfortunately, we've been taking a hit with a lot of guys that's, sustaining, huge losses from losing their lives. And, the most important thing is that I have to pull from this fight what's important to be a better champion and just a better fighter all around. And I just want anybody to say and know that, if anything they could pull from me saying this is that I'm not Superman, but I'm really trying my hardest to be the best fighter I can be by learning every time I step out there. And I'm never boasting and bragging saying, like, I'm the best in the world, that I destroy anybody I talk in. Like, I will put my best foot forward, and that's all I have is effort.
And you do seem to be improving with each fight, and I like the fact that you're not a braggart, and you're very modest, and you seem to grow and learn from all your performances. And you sort of read my mind at the end of your answer. With the judges, were you absolutely shocked that one of the three judges had you winning every single round against Rosado? It seems to be just, that the judges not only lately, it seems to be a pattern all over, social media, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, about how lately the judges seem to have been dropping the ball. Were you shocked to learn that one of the judges had you winning every single round at the time of the stoppage?
Well, again, the rounds were close enough where it could have went either way to me. But like I said, it's shocking to see things like that happen in boxing. But like I said, I don't know how they pull from being a judge. I only look at a fight as like a fighter. I look at things, and maybe we need more fighters to be judges. Who knows? But, like I said, my job is to go up in there and do the best that I can be and just accept whatever, the judges or, whatever the officials plan for it. I can't take anything away from Gabriel Rosado. He tried his best. He wants to be the middleweight champion. Who am I to tell somebody they don't deserve that and not be able to fight that way? So, the guy put up a game performance, and I think with his performance, he should be able to get another payday in another fight. So, I think he should stop crying and just, appreciate that he got to grace the ring, fight for a title. And instead of saying that he was coming for the knockout, he should have went for the knockout early as he can to, not leave it in the judge's hands. Or not even that. The fight didn't get stopped because it was close. It got stopped because his eye looked like a vagina. You know what I'm saying? Like, what more can I say about, the reason why the fight was stopped is because your eye was split open. And let me tell you something. I was not being, trying to take it easy. I seen that was my opportunity to win, and I was aiming and I was determined to take his eye out of place because that was his weakness in the fight. And my job as a fighter is to exploit those weaknesses and try the best to win.
Absolutely. And you did start that cut with a beautiful jab, and you worked on the eye, and that's what fighters are trained to do. I agree with you wholeheartedly. There's a rumor that your next fight, I don't know if you can say 100% with 100% accuracy if this is correct, but I read somewhere on social media that you're planning to fight in an all-Brooklyn affair against Danny Jacobs, maybe at the Barclays Center in February. Is that rumor fact, or have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about it. You know, what they usually write is what usually happens. So I haven't got no offer or anything. Like, the only fight that I'm probably going to be fighting right now is my wife, because she, wants me to make it white time and not so much boxing right now, and I'm trying to, cater to both. So right now what my job is to stay in shape, stay ready, stay focused, stay mentally strong so that I'm able to go into these fights and still come out a winner. So no matter who it is and, what time it is, I'm going to be ready, and my job is to be a fighter. I go in the gym, punch the clock for 2 hours, and I leave, and that's better than what I used to do, which punch the clock from 9 to 5 and hate my job, which I just love my job because I get to inspire kids to be able to be whatever they want to be in life with the hard work. So it's just I can't think too much down. If you go way too much in your future, you'll forget about your present. So I like to stay in the now right now and focus on the now and focus on the happiness that I'm trying to get right now, that, I'll worry about those things when I get to them.
Well, whatever you decide to do, I wish you luck. Like I said, coming from Brooklyn. And one last question, and then I'll throw you back to Christy. Coming up on December 7th, being that, you live in Brooklyn and I was originally born there, you have an all-Brooklyn fight in Paulie Malignaggi and Zab Judah. Not being, Peter Quillin, the boxing fan, but being Peter Quillin, the analyst. Who do you see winning that fight between Zab Judah and Paulie Malignaggi on December 7th?
Well, let me just say first and foremost, as an analyst, I always speak as saying that every guy has a shot to win a fight. This is an excellent match here, not just for boxing, but just for Brooklyn, having some big fights like Paulie and Zab. Zab, he's been there and done that. And to Paulie's credit, he also been there and done that and been in there with some good fighters and won a lot of big fights. So, I think this fight is a good fight for boxing fans to be able to see two guys from Brooklyn get in the ring square against each other. You see no trash talking right as of right now, and as far as on both ends and both parties that, I'm going to just be a super big fan to be able to watch this fight. And, I never pick a winner because I say one punch changes a fight. And if it was going with the guy that I have a personal relationship with, they don't have nothing to do with boxing. Boxing is all about both guys have an equal chance to win through one punch. So I feel, Zab got the power. Paulie has the speed and lacks the power, but he definitely showed his will when he fought Chudinko. And I think that, we're going to see, all X in the fight. So I just hope that the fans will be tuning in. I'm also excited to see Sean Porter square up against, they both friends of mine, Sean Porter and Devin Alexander, to square up against each other. So this is an excellent fight to be here in Brooklyn. I'm definitely going to be in attendance watching.
Yeah, they're throwing together a quadruple header that night. All four fights are going to be on Showtime.
Yes.
Yep, it's going to be a great night for boxing fans and Brooklyn. And for the record, it's my job to pick these fights. For some unexplainable reason, and of course my opinion and prediction are subject to change, for some reason I smell a draw. And I told this to Christy weeks ago, but I think I said it on the air. I think the Malignaggi-Judah fight is going to end in a draw. I don't know why. I just have a sort of a bad feeling. Call it a premonition.
If that happens, then we can just say you're a great analyst, and I'm going to go to you for all my boxing insights all the time, even on my fight.
Maybe you can even borrow his boxing. Maybe you can borrow his boxing prophet robe, Chocolate.
As long as he don't try to lend me his cup, because I'm not wearing another fighter's cup. Other than that, yeah, we get pretty good.
No, wait, speaking about cups, and did you really call Rosado's cut looking like a vagina? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, it kind of look. I'm sorry. I know that's not something you want to hear here, but I get kind of emotional when a guy is crying and whining about something that happened where an elected official had to make sure your safety is, is protected. And, sometimes the fighters don't know what that means until something really bad happens. And then you really, somebody lost a life. And that's not something that, us fighters think about when we step in the ring sometimes. Even though that's what I'm prepared to do.
You're right. Right now we have who's in who we're talking about, who fought with Mike Perez, Magomed Abdulsalamov, I hope I got his name right, from Russia. He is currently at Roosevelt Hospital in Manhattan. Yeah, he was in an induced coma. He had brain surgery. I heard two conflicting reports. One that he was critical yesterday, and someone said he's stable today. So, yeah, we pray that everything's okay with him. You're right. Nobody knows. The doctor is the only one that knows. He stopped the fight. Nobody should be crying over that. The cut looked terrible. I mean, I don't think vaginas look terrible since I'm a girl, and I have one. So I'd say that the cut looked horrible. But you are funny. You are funny. I just got to call you Chocolate because you are funny. I was going to say something else. Now, in your camp with your sparring, didn't you have Danielle Livingston?
I had Danielle Livingston, Terrell Garsha, I had Julian Williams from Philly, and I also had Wale Azamoso. 4 great sparring partners bring the best out of me, challenge me, and that's what I ask for, sparring partners. I usually get a sparring partner, I pay them a lot of money to come, and they leave within a week, and I waste money like that because I got to fly them in and out. That this was one of the best camps that I ever had for our sparring partners, guys that was challenging me, and guys that's future world champions.
Well, I know Danielle Livingston personally. I know Terrell Garsha. Both of them are great guys, great fighters. I know Danielle's family. I also know Joe Chavez, and he was your cut man, wasn't he,
in the
corner?
Yeah, we just sent this check out today. So if Joe listening, tell Joe your check is on its way, and I'm sorry it took so long, but we definitely sending your check off today.
Oh, he's a nice guy. Him and his wife, Virginia, very nice. Well, you were surrounded by nice guys because I know the 3 of them. So you had a nice camp, huh? You guys worked hard.
Yeah, I always work hard. Even in my regular life, I'm a hard worker, and I just believe that I should stay in shape and stay ready and stay motivated.
And so what's next? I mean, besides the fighting, you said your wife wants you around. Do you have any plans besides going to Michigan? Any other kind of vacation, or you do anything else?
Yeah, I know I'm going to take her to somewhere. I don't know if it's Hawaii or Cuba, but I know I got to, before any of that, I'm going to have to take the dog for a walk very soon because, he's a little anxious and everything. But besides that, we plan on getting a second dog, to keep my other dog company because he for some reason, he can escape out of my apartment. He opens the door and he ends up in the hallway. So we want to kind of give him something that's going to keep him company because he always not in the apartment, more so dog. In the hallway. Wow. Yeah, he's super smart. He brings me my shoe when I tell him to go get my shoe to take him for a walk. But he's just like an awesome dog.
God, how cute. So have you been to Cuba yet?
I've been to Cuba 2010, visited my family for the first time, changed my whole life. I could just say more of bringing more wholeness to myself to understand who I am as a person, what my family's history from Cuba is, and getting to meet my brother because I'm named after my brother in Cuba. So to ever actually meet him, it really was a life changer. And I wish that my brothers had the opportunity to do the same thing because I think their life would be changed through a situation going to Cuba and seeing, where my father's from there. I think they'll learn how to appreciate life a little bit more.
Wow, that's wonderful. And now that they're actually letting us, I heard they're letting us fly from the United States now. Is that correct?
Yes.
We can go straight to Cuba?
Yes, they let us fly. I got first generation family in Cuba, so I'm able to fly from the country straight over there, filling the affidavit out and everything.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, I hope, more people get to go over there. And Cuba, I would like to go to Cuba. Well, I know your dog needs to go walking. He probably is crossing his legs. He's got to go pee so bad. So, but, we really appreciate it. I like you. You're really a neat guy, and I wish you the best. Do you want to shout out to anybody or send out your Twitter or Facebook or anything?
Yes, I wanted to shout y'all out for calling me and catching the latest and greatest from me. I want to thank all the hardworking people in Brooklyn to make sure that, you inspiring people and bringing people closer to what's real in life. I just want to make sure I shout out my Twitter at Kid Chocolate, also my Instagram at Kid Chocolate. Follow me. If you want to be inspired, you can follow me. I'm always putting quotes out there, putting inspirational pictures of people. I'm never trying to make somebody feel less than themselves. I'm trying to make people feel equal. And I'm just happy to be in my place, and I'm going to keep fighting hard, not only for myself, but for everybody that needs the strength.
Well, wonderful. Thank you. This has been a great interview, and I love your little interpretation of your father. And please tell him hello and your family and your wife, and thank you for being on the show with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. God bless you.
Well, God bless you. Have a great day. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
We will be back with more Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. Coming up, we will have Demetrius Andrade. Stay tuned.
This is Real Combat Media Radio. Check us out at realcombatmedia.com. While you're there, check Check out the Feed the Poor link on the bottom of every article, and you can send a donation if you're interested. That is, once again, on the bottom of every article as well as on the top of the website. If you are an MMA, boxing, or fitness business and interested in sponsoring our website or radio podcast, send us an email. Advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Once again, that is advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Make sure to check out the Real Combat Media MMA and boxing store at the top of the menu at realcombatmedia.com. We carry a collection of products. We have the Cardio Mask, which is excellent for all fighters, endurance athletes, and serious fitness enthusiasts. Once you are in the Real Combat Media store, click on the banner on that page. We also carry Alpha Brain. Alpha Brain is a great and natural product which activates your brain's neurotransmitters and helps you think more clearly, which improves brain function. You can also purchase the world's healthiest plant protein, which comes from hemp. There are many other products online on the online store, and click on the On It banner at the Real Combat Media store, and you can purchase Alpha Brain and other health products. Use the discount code Real Combat Media, and you will receive 10% off at the checkout store on the On It. That is ONNIT on the banner at Real Combat Media store. Buckle up. Here we go. Let's get this show started.
Welcome back to Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. This is episode 34. I'm your host, Christy Rosario, here in Los Angeles. My co-host is Richard Solomon, the boxing prophet in New York City. Our guest media panel host is the Denver Boxing Examiner, Stephen Johnson. Live caller is 347-324-5998. And you can Twitter us at Real Combat Media. Find us on Facebook at Real Combat Media in the search bar. We will be coming up in just a little bit with Demetrius Andrade, but first I wanted to talk to you, Prophet. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm a little bit sad though because I was hoping that you would have another one of your Freudian slips in the beginning of the show and say my boxing prophet, but so far during this telecast it hasn't happened yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you're always my boxing prophet, my co-host. Here we are. That was a nice interview. I really like Peter Quillin. I think he was really nice. Chocolate.
It's hard not to like him, Yeah, it's very, very hard not to like him. He's good for the sport. He doesn't get on the microphone and brag about his skills. He's very modest, very humble guy. And, we'll talk about it later, but although Triple G turned in a wonderful performance, at least as far as I'm concerned, there are some chinks in his armor. And Peter Quillin is that type of fighter that could maybe expose Triple G or perhaps beat him, which we will talk about later. But in a perfect world, Quillin will be matched up sometime soon with either Triple G and or Sergio Martinez and get that, payday and that mega fight that he so richly deserves.
I hope so. I mean, I didn't know a lot about Chocolate. See, I can call him Chocolate now. But he was funny. He was interesting. I loved his impression of his father. I thought it was so cute. I love how he is with his wife. This is the kind of role models we need. I want my 13-year-old to look up to someone like him, opposed to the other ones who I'm not going to mention. I won't start talking about it. But I liked him, and I didn't know a lot about him, and I thought he was funny. And did you get a little shocked by our little words in there, Prophet? I know sometimes you get a little about the cut.
No, but once again, I have to tell my mother to maybe press the mute button during parts of the interview. But I thought overall it went well. I think he gave me a backhanded compliment when I told him the Judo Malignaggi fight would end in a draw, and he basically said something that I could wear his cup or something like that, which kind of threw me for a loop. But maybe if it does end in a draw, we can call him back and he can wear my robe for a day or something like that.
He said he doesn't want to wear anybody's cups. He's funny. I liked him a lot. And I'll be looking forward to who he's fighting again, and then he can come on and talk to us about that. We should, I guess before we go to topics, we should make sure we have our interview with Demetrius Andrade, because I'm really looking forward to hearing from him. So we'll do that now, and then we'll go to a commercial, and we'll come back and we'll talk about our topics. Does that work for you?
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right, so coming up, we have our wow. How do you explain him? He's a 2008 Olympian. He did fantastic in the Olympics. He beat 2 Russians and then almost beat the Korean, and it was debatable if he should have, depends who you talk to. His score was 9-11 against the Korean. That's heartbreaking. But he is a fantastic fighter and has the biggest fight of his career as he takes on Vanes Martirosyan this coming Saturday on HBO. Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius, welcome to Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. I'm Christy Rosario, your host, and I have the Boxing Prophet, my co-host, and we have Steven Johnson from the Denver Boxing Examiner, and he's here as our panel host. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm doing fine, and I wanted to say hello to all you.
We appreciate you coming on. Did you just get done with your workout?
I got done with my first workout a little earlier today. Just about to get ready for my second.
What does your second consist of? What do you do next?
Well, tonight I'm gonna be doing, just a boxing workout. Earlier today, then my strength and conditioning.
And strength and conditioning is tonight, or did you do that earlier today?
I did the strength and conditioning earlier today. Tonight I'm going into the boxing gym to work on some stuff.
Okay, so are you finished with the sparring, or will you still do a little sparring tonight?
Nah, the sparring's all said and done this week, just maintaining the conditioning and just getting, being well rested.
Well rested. Yeah, tomorrow you fly out for Texas, don't you?
Yeah, tomorrow we're flying out, land there probably like 5 p.m. and then, probably do a little shakeout and then just, getting a rest and just maintaining the weight and getting ready to prepare for November 9th.
Right, and what's exciting for me is being an AIBA referee judge. I remember you, and I remember Vanes Martirosyan from the amateurs, and to have you guys each other now, for me it's exciting. I like you both very much, and I wanted to ask, did you fight Vanes in the amateurs?
Nah, we kind of like 4 or 5 years apart. I believe we never seen each other. I never seen him in the amateurs when I was coming up. I think when I turned 16 for the USA Open. I think he was on his way out, turning pro. Or the Olympics was over.
That's right. He was a 2004 Olympian in your 2008. You were there with Andre Ward and Andre Durrell, right?
Nah, he was with those fellas.
Oh, he was with those fellows. You were okay, and then you were 2008.
Yeah, when the Olympics was in 2004, I turned open in 2005, so he wasn't around after the Olympics, so I never bumped into him.
You were just a young man. You were just a youngster. That's right. I forgot that you were so much younger. You're 25 now, is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, of course. But I remember you. And then you went to the Olympics, and you know what? You did excellent. I know that you won your 2 fights from the Russians, and then, what was it, 9 and up to 11 with the Korean? Your third fight, is that correct?
Yeah, something like that. I'm not too sure what the score was, but I know it wasn't the right scoring.
Right. Yeah, why don't you go back and just tell us a little bit about that, because I know, you worked hard to get there, and you looked fantastic. What do you think happened? I know judges, and it's debatable, but what do you think happened with the Koreans?
They was in favorite for him to win, I believe, just because, we was out in China, and they probably wanted to see one of their fellow mates in that, in that region, that area, make it as far as he can, and helped by the judges, they accomplish that goal.
And when you finished, did you feel like you had pulled it off, that you were way ahead, or did you think it was pretty close?
No, definitely, when I did look back at the fight, there was shots I was hitting him with that they didn't score, and there was clearly shots when I did hit him, they would give him the point, and that was kind of funny, so that's why I jumped down to, like you said, 9-11. But that was then. I took that in like I always take all the international experience that I had in the past, my past experience, and now I'm taking it. And November 9th, I'm using that anger, that frustration, that negativity that they brought towards me, take it as positive motivation and energy, and I'm going to capitalize on this fight for the WBO.
For the WBO, yeah, I'm sorry. I know it's hard when you look back, but you know what? There's not a lot of guys that did as well as you in the Olympics, and to become an Olympian, Demetrius, you must be proud. I hope you're proud.
No, I'm very proud. I've been overseas plenty of times, and us going overseas, and me knowing I've been going overseas since I was young, 16, 17, and going to these foreign countries and fighting in their backyard. I was prepared to not get the loss, but understand that we're not going to win. So I go out there and I do my personal best, and sometimes I get the win, and sometimes I get the loss. And a few times in Russia, I actually got outstanding boxer of the night in some competitions, and then there's some competitions where they wouldn't give it to none of us at all. So it was just part of the game. But the key thing was to go out there, gain experience, take it with you, and prepare for the Olympics. And that's exactly what I did. And all that experience carried over to the pro and my career. And I'm just still learning as I go, and I'm just becoming a growing young man all around.
Yes, I know you started young. I mean, you were a gold medalist at the World Champions, weren't you, in the World Championships, if I remember correctly? Yes, and in 2007, I was favored to win the gold after I won the 2007 World Championships, and I pretty much beat everybody, and then they just didn't want to see an American win in 2008. Sorry to say. I know it's hard. I mean, even these days, judging is human beings, so you have to understand that. But you have a lot to be proud of. And now you're going for your WBO title, which is exciting, against Vanes Martirosyan this coming weekend in Corpus Christi. I should be able to say that name since my name is Christy. Corpus Christi, Texas. And coming up, is it exciting? I mean, how do you feel? I mean, you're going for a belt. What do you think? No, I feel grateful. Well, glory due to the Most High for guiding me and getting me to this opportunity, injury free, and helping get me there safe and sound to win this WBO. I'm excited. I've been waiting for this. This has been something I've been waiting for since I was young. I told people when I was 6, 8 years old that I was going to the Olympics. I went to the Olympics. Told people I'm gonna be a world champion and stay undefeated and beat the unbeatable, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I just can't wait. Right now I'm just being calm, relaxed, and doing everything I need to do to be a champion. So when November 9th comes, that day, I'm gonna be very excited. Right now, I'm just being patient, visualizing the situation that's at hand, and I'm take things one at a time, and overcome this opportunity and work on with that WBO. Working it. Wow. It sounds like you are ready to go. Did you have good sparring in your camp? Everything was great. The sparring, the conditioning work, my dad being in my corner, just everything was right where it needed to be. And this was the best camp I had. Everybody played a major part. The momentum, the spirit, and everybody's motivation just kept going and going due to the fact that, we got postponed months at times, and this guy pulled out, and this fight got canceled, and this date wasn't available, and we just, looked up upon the sky and knowing, the day's going to come, and here it is now, and here's the time, and now we're about to rise to the occasion. That's right. I know it's frustrating when they cancel these fights. I know when you prepare and then they cancel, and here you are. Now, you have your dad with you, which is excellent, but you went one fight without your father. What happened through that time period?
We had a misunderstanding with, father and son and trainer and boxer, and a lot of, things kind of got in the way. And so as men and as businessmen, you have to do what you got to do to survive. And so that's exactly what was done. But, knowing the fact that this is somebody that's been with me since day one and bred me and taught me the skills and showed me the way and showed me this trade, and knowing like this man is the best for me and his work is unfinished and there's nobody else that can guide me and make me the best fighter that I can be other than my dad, Paul Andre. And so, I put my differences to the side, ego and pride, or whatever the case might be, and so did he, and we're here together about to make a dream come true.
And do you feel like, you're stronger now since you went through that conflict and you're coming back together again?
Now, definitely the relationship is better. We have an understanding that, he's a man, I'm a man. He's the trainer in the gym, outside the gym, with father and son. And that also, we're both businessmen and understand business, and we got to take things in consideration on both ends.
Right. It must be hard, though, for a father kind of to separate that a little bit. I mean, you're always his baby, you're always going to be that. And to see you as a man and a businessman, I could see where that could be difficult. But your dad has adjusted, I guess, and now it's stronger. And you're going to be together for this title fight on the 9th, and it's exciting. I'm excited for you, Demetrius. But I want to give my co-host a chance and our panel host. So, Prophet, why don't you jump in here?
Sure. Welcome to the show, Demetrius. It's an honor having you on.
Thank you for having me on Combat.
And as a man who lives in New York, I guess it pains me to say this, but I guess congratulations are in order for your Boston Red Sox clinching the World Series at home for the first time since 1918. I bet you partied hard that night, huh?
Now, it was nice to hear the Boston Red Sox did their thing. That's going to catapult me with them become November 9th, because I'm going to show the world also Demetrius Andrade up to that level too.
Yes, and not too many people know this going back to your amateur days, but to make it in the Olympic trials, you destroyed hard punching and a pretty successful pro at this stage of his career, Keith Thurman. I think you beat him by 14 points. Tell us what you remember about that fight.
I remember that just going into the fight knowing what his capabilities are and what he's not capable of doing. His capabilities are not doing, and so therefore I took advantage of his weakness and just stuck to my game plan, and it worked.
Coming into this fight, you had previously scored TKO victories in 3 of your past 4 bouts. You went the distance with Freddie Hernandez, and also in various other interviews, you said that you needed the knockout to win because Top Rank is behind Martizian, and you also pointed to the fact, and rightly so, with Chavez Jr. against Brian Vera. Everyone who saw that fight that is passionate about the sport of boxing, that knows boxing, knows that Vera should have gotten the decision, and yet they gave it to Chavez Jr., and you said that you had to knock out Martizian to win the fight. Isn't that putting added pressure on yourself? Maybe you'll deviate from your normal game plan to go ahead and get the knockout victory instead of box more?
Nah, I mean, that's definitely not, the game plan is to wear and tear his body down and, let him know that I'm storming over him, and so therefore my will is going to overcome his will, and he's going to have no choice other than fade or falter, and that's when the knockout is going to occur. I don't know what round and when it's going to show up, but I'm going to be all over him for every second of 3-minute round that we have, and I'm letting him know I'm here, and it's mine. Like, it's going to be a dog fight that has to come down to it, because, like I said, I'm going to show that I'm more superior. Of course, I'm a boxer. I have an answer for everything he's going to come with. And, this is not going to be a cute little boxing dance off. I'm coming to punch hard, move fast, and strike when it's time to strike.
And did you see his last fight against Erislandy Lara? It was ruled a draw. I thought Lara won the fight. It was kind of tough to score. Very tactical fight, very slow fight, kind of hard to watch. What do you think of your opponent's strengths and weaknesses going into the fight?
Well, in that case, November 9th, you're going to see what I have in store for him. Just know I'm coming hard, I'm coming strong, and I'm not Laura, and I'm not moving around the ring and running and trying to dip. I'm gonna hold my ground, and I'm gonna show him what it is to get beat up. Like this gonna be his first lesson of getting beat up by Demetrius Andrade, and therefore I don't really care what his strength is. I don't really care what his weaknesses are, because no matter what, I'm going in there and I'm going to do what I do, and that's have fun and letting my hands go and doing everything I need to do necessary to win.
And speaking about Lara, he's fighting Austin Trout in December. Not looking ahead, obviously, it's something that most fighters don't do, but assuming you emerge victorious this coming weekend, would you like to fight the winner of Lara against Trout, or what do you see next for you in the future? I really got to sit down with my team. I think Miguel Cotto will be a good fight. He's just coming off a nice victory, and I know he's going to want another chance, and he deserves a chance for this WBO. And if he wants it, he can have it, and then from there we can go from there. All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck Saturday, and I'll throw it back to Christy because I know we have Stephen Johnson who also wants to ask you a couple of questions.
Okay, cool.
Yes, Stephen, go ahead.
Hey, Boo Boo, I know you don't remember. You talked to me about time flies. It was probably about 4 years ago I talked to you when you had just turned pro, and we had a little conversation. But I'm a little bit shocked by all of the conversation that you've had lately building up to this fight. I do agree that this is basically 04 against 08. The 04 Vanes in Athens and you 08 in Beijing. But considering that you both have spectacular amateur careers, and Vanes, had defeated Austin Trout, Andre Berto, and Timothy Bradley, and you got a hold of as Prophet mentioned, you had previously gotten a hold of who am I thinking? Oh, Keith Thurman.
Keith Thurman.
My biggest thing is that you sound totally different than the Boo Boo that I remember in 2010. You fought a guy, you might remember him, Jeff Sprill, who was from, he's an older guy, but he was from Colorado Springs, and I was very familiar with him. And you, surprisingly to me, you had a little trouble with him. I thought that fight would have ended early, but he ended up going the distance. But there's a whole new, different Boo Boo now than there was then. Can you explain what that difference is between now, 3 years ago, and now?
I mean, it's maturity, and just because I don't stop somebody doesn't necessarily mean somebody gave me trouble. That whole fight, I just boxed them and did what I had to do, and, I was young, still growing as a man, and the power is not there like it is right now, and so therefore, it's a lot different when you mature, when you become a man, and when you start growing into getting that man's strength. So back then, I was only 20, 21 maybe, and, the power, the speed, the mind, the body, it all grows and it has the development stages, and I feel I'm better than what I was back then. Okay, and that's legitimate. I would say I would agree with you. Maturing as a man in the ring, that has a lot to do with it. Say a little bit to our listeners about your promoters, Star Boxing and Banner Promotions. I'm familiar with Artie Palulo, and I know, as you know, Artie's just coming off of one of his guys, Ruslan Provodnikov,
claiming a world championship, and I imagine you want to follow along that line. But if you talk a little bit about how your promotions team has been valuable to you.
I mean, I want to just, stay listening. Congratulations once again to Pugh, of course, for capturing his victory and his opportunity and working hard to get to where he got to get to, and being a promotion for making that fight possible for him. And so being on Style Boxing made this negotiation possible with Vanez. And so I'm here now, and the time is here. Unfortunately, it is on Top Rank's promotion, but the fight has been made, and at the end of the day, the fight's in my hand, and Destiny is going to speak come November 9th. But a promotion, they've been doing their job. They've been moving me along as far as help. My dad helping me and picking the right fights, and who, what time and place and where, and just them doing their job and me doing my job, and it's all come together November 9th, WBO. That's all that matters.
Well, I'm looking forward to this fight. One other thing before I let you go. I've heard you say it before, and now I've heard you say it today for all of our listeners to get to hear it. But you say that there's not going to be any dancing around. You said you're going to hold your ground against Vanez, and it's going to be a fight. So I'm going to find this very interesting. This might turn out to be the fight of the night. If what you say is true, and you guys, I know Vanez said that he has no intention of doing any dancing around and running. You guys are going to, I guess you're just going to meet in the middle of the ring, and we'll all get to find out who the better man is. So I want to congratulate you and give you the best of luck, and we'll see you on Saturday night.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on Combat Media, and God bless you guys.
Hold on, you still got Christy to talk to. That was just me.
I know, Stephen, you made it sound like he was leaving us. Hold on, Demetrius.
Sorry, Christy.
I mean, Stephen's just ending the call. No way. I'm not letting you go yet, Demetrius. You almost. But I want to ask you, and probably everybody knows this except me, where did Boo Boo come from? That is the cutest nickname.
That's funny. I just had it when I was younger. When I was a tiny little baby, I might have been always outside playing, running the house, getting Boo Boos, or they call me Boo. They call me Boo Boo because I was the shit, but they call me the shit, so they call me Boo Boo. but now I hand out Boo Boos, and the nickname Boo Boo been stuck with me for people that knew me for longevity, and of course me growing up in the boxing world, everybody knows me as Boo Boo, and a lot of people get it confused. They think that I picked the name Boo Boo for my boxing nickname, but that's just something that's been with me through life. And if you ever watch any of my fights, just for the people out there, that I always switch up my character every fight. So, yeah, Boo Boo is just something that's been a given name since I was yay high.
I love it. I thought maybe it was what was it, what was the cartoon, and they had little Boo Boo. And
Christy.
Yeah, Yogi.
Yogi. But I love it, little Boo Boo, you got Boo Boos. I love it. It's so cute. Now you're a grown man, and it's handsome too. Okay, Demetrius, it's not just cute. It's a great name for you. And I want to know if you have any shout-outs. Okay, if you want to shout out your Twitter, your Facebook, go ahead now. I'd like to hear it.
Definitely for the people and the fans and the supporters that been watching me, and the people that don't know me, that I'm still at Hots come November 9th. Follow me, tune in, Demetrius Andrade, Boo Boo Boxing, the Twitter, the Instagram, it's all the same. I have roads to the championship you can tune into, and just all glory due to the Most High. God bless everybody out there, and a star will be born November 9th, and that's Demetrius Andrade, I guarantee.
Right, November 9th, definitely. And do you have a Facebook or no Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is all under the same Boo Boo Boxing. Demetrius Andrade. Yeah, you can tune in, and you can capture my life movements and boxing movements and see what it is like and what it takes to be number one.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. We're going to be watching the fight, on the edge of our chairs and, yelling for you guys. And thank you so much for coming on, Demetrius. Good luck.
Right.
Lots of good luck.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And God bless you over there, too.
And God bless you, too. And we will be right back with more Real Combat Media Boxing Radio.
Oh, yeah, now.
This is Real Combat Media Radio. Check us out at realcombatmedia.com. While you're there, check out the Feed the Poor link on the bottom of every article, and you can send a donation if you're interested. That is, once again, on the bottom of every article as well as on the top of the website. If you are an MMA, boxing, or fitness business and interested in sponsoring our website or radio podcast, send us an email. Advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Once again, that is advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Make sure to check out the Real Combat Media MMA and boxing store at the top of the menu at realcombatmedia.com. We carry a collection of products. We have the Cardio Mask, which is excellent for all fighters, endurance athletes, and serious fitness enthusiasts. Once you are in the Real Combat Media store, click on the banner on that page. We also carry Alpha Brain. Alpha Brain is a great and natural product which activates your brain's neurotransmitters and helps you think more clearly, which improves brain function. You can also purchase the world's healthiest plant protein, which comes from hemp. There are many other products on the online store, and click on the On It banner at the Real Combat Media store, and you can purchase Alpha Brain and other health products. Use the discount code Real Combat Media, and you will receive 10% off at the checkout store on the On It. That is ONNIT on the banner at Real Combat Media store. Buckle up. Here we go. Let's get this show started.
Welcome back to Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. This is episode 34. I'm your host, Christy Rosario, here in Los Angeles, with the Boxing Prophet, all the way in Brooklyn, New York. We are here. You can call us live, 347-324-5998. Again, 347-324-5998. You can Twitter us at Real Combat Media. Or you can do my Twitter at BoxingGirl, BXINGIRL, or at BoxingProfit68 for the Boxing Prophet. You can get us on Facebook in the search bar, Real Combat Media in the search bar, and then that's it. And then you can get in touch with us. There's so many ways. And after the show, right away, you can listen to the show again. Go to iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, realcombatmedia.com, and on YouTube. YouTube, we usually have the shows up by the morning. So there's a lot of different ways that you can listen to the show again. And Prophet, how are you? You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm good.
Well, we had two great interviews today. What did you think?
I thought they both went exceptionally well. I'm looking forward to the Andrade fight this coming Saturday. Two Olympians going at it. It's going to be a great fight, and hopefully, like I said before, Peter Quillin, deserves that big mega fight. He's probably one of the more underrated middleweight champions we have right now. So both guys, one guy has a date with Destiny this coming weekend, and hopefully Quillin will have his date with Destiny sometime in the future.
Right, and both nice guys. I really enjoyed our conversations. And so let's just talk about the fight coming up first, since we just spoke to Demetrius. So we have Demetrius Andrade. Let's see what his record is. 19 wins, 13 KOs, no losses. Then we have Vanis Martirosyan, and he has 33 wins, 21 by way of knockout and no losses, just one draw. So he has 34 fights. And they are going for the WBO light middleweight title on this coming Saturday, November 9th, at the American Bank Center in Corpus Christi, Texas. All right, tell me about the fight and your predictions, Prophet.
It's very, very tough. This is the only fight on the card that I think is going to be competitive. The other two, which we will talk about, I guess, later on, to me are, one-sided mismatches. But you got the 2008 Olympian and Andrade against the 2004 Olympian Martirosyan. I hope I pronounced that out. I'll just call him Van.
Vanis.
Yes, I'll just call him Vanis. Vanis, is that good?
Vanis. Yes, Vanis.
But as Stephen and I alluded to when we interviewed Demetrius, both are known more for their successes in the amateurs, with Demetrius pretty much destroying Keith Thurman and Vanis beating Austin Trout 3 times in the amateurs and also holding wins over Berto and Bradley. Vanis had an interesting fight with Lara. It was a tactical fight, kind of boring. It ended in a draw. I had Lara, it was a close fight. I had Lara ahead by a point when they stopped the fight. Dimitri's biggest win was against Freddie Hernandez. The thing I fear most about Demetrius is he said, he was all over social media, and he said that he feels that he has to knock out Vanis to win the fight. That, he saw what happened with Chavez Jr. and Vera, how Vera, because he wasn't promoted by Top Rank, Chavez Jr. was allowed to get that gift decision. So maybe he deviates from the norm. He doesn't follow his normal game plan, and he doesn't box, and he looks for the knockout over Vanis, and that falls right into his hands. Because I think from a technical standpoint, the edge goes to Vanis, but I think speed-wise and power-wise, Demetri has the edge there. So it's just type of game plan is he going to implement going into the fight. I think it'll be a competitive fight. I think both guys will bring their A game, but unfortunately, there seems to be a common theme that we've touched upon lately in boxing, and it's the politically connected fighter seems to be getting the unpopular close decisions. So I think if it does go to distance, then Vanis will get the decision because he's got the promoter in his corner, Top Rank. And I think whether it's fair or not, the only way Andrade can win the fight is if he stops Vanis, if he scores the TKO, the knockout victory. Unfortunately, I think he's going to push for that way too early, and he might unknowingly fight with reckless abandon, which I think will play right into Van's hands. He's a pretty good counterpuncher. He's got good boxing ability, and it'll be close. It'll be one of these how do you score a fight type of things. Do you give it to the boxer in Vanis, who will use his jab, use lateral movement, or do you give it to the guy coming forward who's a volume puncher in Demetri? So it'll be a hard fight to score either way. I see it being maybe a 7-5 fight for either guy, but at the end of the day, the politically connected fighter always seems to get the benefit of the doubt. So I look for Vanis to win an unpopular split decision. I think it'll be one of these fights that's tough to score. I wish them both well. I don't have a rooting interest in this fight, I have to say, because both are Olympians who did our country proud. So to me, it's a no-lose situation for me personally as a boxing fan. The only thing I don't want to see is an outrageous decision. But my pick, and it's tough, but I have to lean a little bit towards Vanis to win a close, razor-thin, maybe even unpopular split decision.
Well, what do you think about, Demetrius is a southpaw. Demetrius is also an inch taller than Vanis, and Vanis is used to all these guys being shorter. Vanis is 6 foot, Demetrius is 6'1". He's a southpaw. Do you think Vanis is going to have a little issue with the southpaw?
He might, and I don't think he's fought that many southpaws in his career, and Demetrius should give him fits. I just want to see Demetri box a little bit more. In the interview, he seemed to say the politically correct thing, saying that he'll do whatever it takes to win, that he doesn't necessarily have to go for the knockout, that he'll use his jab, and he can outbox Vanis as well. But I just don't see it happening. I think there's been so many wild and wacky decisions this year that I think it might take Boo Boo out of his game plan. It's very tough for me to say that word, Boo Boo, but I think if he sticks to his game plan, in terms of natural, pure, God-given talent, I think Boo Boo has the edge. I think he's quicker, he hits harder, but I just don't think he's as competent a boxer as Vanis is. So it'll be interesting to see which guy can implement his game plan the best. And it's a very stressful situation because, they're both guys represented, the Olympic boxing team, and, they know each other, so it'll be a tough fight. But I think it'll be competitive. I'd be shocked if it was one-sided. If either guy wins decisively by TKO or an easy decision, I'd be kind of surprised. I think it's one of these fights where they're kind of evenly matched, and whoever sticks to their game plan better will win.
Okay, well, Erislandy Lara is a southpaw, and didn't you think maybe Vanes had a hard, that was kind of a hard fight for him? Like you said, it was close. You kind of had Lara up. It ended up, I guess it was a draw, a technical draw. So, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, Lara sort of rolled up. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the southpaw, like I keep harping on it, but, it seems like Vanes pretty much walks through a lot of his fights, and he did very well. I've seen him. He's strong. He knows how to box. He knows how to fight, whatever he can get into. But with Erislandy Lara, there's another southpaw. Maybe maybe for his camp is all with southpaws this time, and maybe he'll adjust. But it seemed like he had a harder time with Lara than his other fights.
Lara's a weird fighter. He looked, for all intents and purposes, he was in a brawl against Alfredo Angulo, and he fought well against Paul Williams in a fight that had a lot of action, but he can also stick out the joint. It depends which Erislandy Lara shows up. And in that fight, he was very technical. I just remember the fight being very slow, very boring, hard to watch, a very technical fight. And I think Lara didn't come to fight that night. He didn't want to brawl at all, and it was kind of hard to score. But I think Demetrius is going to be there to fight. He's going to be ready to rumble, and I think it'll be a much more entertaining fight. And I wouldn't. It's hard to compare Andrade with Erislandy Lara because you don't know which Lara is going to show up. Sometimes he's willing to engage, and other times he just wants to move around the ring and box. And Andrade seems to indicate, at least to us, that he wants to score the knockout victory. I think he's afraid of the fight going to the scorecards. And I think that could play into the hands of Vanes because he's a very, very competent boxer. It's just going to be, like I said, it's going to be one of these fights where, both guys have great amateur pedigree, but they haven't had that career-defining fight. They haven't had a fight that put them on the map. It's interesting that they're fighting each other to get recognized. Because usually when you're a member of an Olympic boxing team, you're brought up slowly, and then you fight a guy who's in your division, like in the top 10, and then you got a shot at the belt. Neither one of these guys, Vanes did fight Erislandy Lara, but neither one has had that really, really career-defining win, and they're going to, have it at the expense of one another when they step into the ring Saturday night. Their breakthrough performance will be, the winner, of course, that will be his breakthrough performance, beating the fellow Olympian. So like I said, from a fan's point of view, it'll be tough. I kind of really have no rooting interest in the fight because I'm proud of both guys. But I just think whoever, like I said before, sticks to their game plan will win the fight, and I just hope the better fighter wins. What I don't want to see is another controversial decision, which I know for a fact we won't be seeing in the other two fights Saturday night. I just want to see the better man win, whether it's by TKO or decision. Just let's not have any controversy.
Well, it's a shame that, and that's what you tell your fighters, I'm sure, is that the only decision that will be for certain is if you get a TKO or knockout. And I find that's a shame that he has to think that way. But unfortunately, what we've seen lately, it looks like if they don't retire their fighter, no TKO, no KO, then it's not certain when you get to the scorecards. So, well, we'll see. And, like I like both fighters. Both are Olympians. I saw them through the amateurs, and I just, it's hard for me to pick. I just hope it's a great fight, and I hope the fighter that comes that night to fight and is the better fighter that night, I hope they win. I don't want a mismatch or a lopsided decision. I agree with you, Prophet. Well, we need to go back a little bit because before we get into the fights that are coming up, I just wanted to talk about that one because we just spoke to Demetrius. But I do want to talk about Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, and Curtis Stevens, who just fought for the WBA World Middleweight title, and it was Curtis got retired in the 8th round, and I thought it was a pretty good showing by Curtis Stevens, though I have to say. Gennady is strong, obviously, and it was a great fight. But Prophet, what did you think? Were you on the edge of your seat watching this?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, for a guy who lost every round, it's hard to say you acquitted yourself well when you lost every round. But Curtis Stevens, came to fight, especially in the early rounds. The second round knockdown, I was ready to text you that my prediction came to fruition because I guaranteed the fight wouldn't last 5 rounds. My pick was Triple G in 3, and he knocked down Stevens with a vicious double left hook in the second round. Stevens' legs were in the air. His eyes gave this indication of, holy shit, I just got hit by a grenade or a bomb or a sledgehammer. I was shocked that he got up. And to his credit, not only did he get up, but a couple of rounds later, I believe it was either the 4th or the 5th round, I don't want to say he hurt Triple G, but he temporarily, got his attention with a beautiful, picture-perfect right hand, and I immediately began to think of Rocky Balboa against the Russian in Rocky IV when he cut the Russian, and Rocky's trainer was yelling, he's normal, he bleeds just like everybody else. For a moment there, I thought, wow, Triple G's normal, he's human. But I think Curtis was a little bit afraid to go after Triple G because he felt Triple G's power in that second round. So he would cover up, using that, I guess, that butterfly style, where he just put his hands to cover his face. And Triple G took what Curtis gave him. He went to the body when Curtis covered up. And he's just a precise punching machine is Triple G. And I love the fact that Triple G, everyone says, oh, he has power, but someone can outbox him. I'm reading on social media now how Andre Ward would embarrass Triple G. That's hogwash. Triple G used his most underrated weapon, I thought, in this fight, was the jab. He used the jab beautifully to set up all his power punches against Curtis Stevens. The jab landed at will. So here's a guy that can do it all, go to the body, jab, throw explosive punches. It was just mind-boggling. I thought it was a wonderful performance. Every facet of Triple G's game was on. Yes, Curtis Stevens did get his attention 1 or 2 times, but, Curtis Stevens used to fight as a light heavyweight, and he came down, to the middleweight division to fight Triple G. So the 8th round, I felt bad for Curtis. Even though Curtis didn't go down, it's one of those rare rounds that you had to score 10-8 because Curtis, even though he didn't go down, was taking a beating. And I was just waiting for Curtis's corner to throw in the towel before the bell ended the round. I mean, he was just against the ropes, just taking a beating. So it was a violent 10-8 round. It was hard to watch that round. But, Triple G moves on to bigger and better things. Curtis Stevens will see another payday because, like I said, even though he lost every round, he acquitted himself well. He tried. He came to fight. He didn't lie down. He could have just, after the second round knockdown, he could have just said, all right, this guy hits like a mother effer. I'm done for the evening. But he didn't. He fought valiantly as best as he could. And Triple G is just climbing up the ranks. He's just great. You can make a case that he could be on your pound-for-pound list in the top 10. It's very, very hard because a lot of people are saying, how do you rank a guy? Do you rank a guy over, with his talent or level of his opposition? To me, it's a little bit of both. And the thing now with Triple G is I think all these guys like Andre Ward and Sergio Martinez and, dare I say, Floyd Money Mayweather are clearly, I don't know if afraid is the appropriate word, but they're going to do their best to duck Triple G at all costs unless the fans kind of demand that fight. And by dominating his opponents like Triple G has been doing recently, scoring his 15th straight TKO victory, it's hard for me to see anyone stepping into the ring with him, unless it's a substantial payday. I just think, hopefully Peter Quillin will get that chance. He said that he, during the interview, that he wanted $2 million to fight Triple G. I don't know if the powers that be are going to give him that $2 million. So it's kind of weird to say, Christy, but the better that Triple G looks, and he looked sensational this past Saturday night, the kind of worse it is for his career, because all other fighters are just afraid, all the great fighters are afraid to step into the ring with him.
Yeah, he looks fantastic with his little tan, and he's looking a little more Americanized, I think. But besides how he looked, I'm sorry, you have to check out the guys as well when they're boxing, right? Prophet? No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure you're not checking them out. But yes, he looked great. He was walking down Stevens. He was using that jab beautifully, which I like to see because a lot of the fighters forget about their jab. The jab is so important. My trainer, Ben Lira, who actually was in the corner with Triple G and was the lead coach for Mike Perez because Abel was with Gennady, always instilled the jab. Before we went to anything else, the jab was the most important. So Gennady used his jab beautifully. He threw everything, like you said. He cut off the ring. He threw everything. You could tell he's very strong. But at the same time, Curtis did get in some of his punches, and you could see that, like you said, we were talking about, Prophet, that Gennady did not like to get hit. I don't think he gets hit very often, and he did feel Stevens' power, and Steven does have a lot of power. Like you said, he came from 178 down. Here he is fighting. He's a strong guy. It must be hard to make weight, even though he said that it wasn't. But I thought Stevens really gave a gallant effort. I'm glad his corner is smart enough to retire him because, any of these fighters are not going to quit, and we don't want anything else to happen to these guys. I thought it was a great fight. I don't know who is going to step up and fight, Triple G, Gennady, next time. I hope he can have someone that he has some competition. It would make it really interesting. I do want to mention the, Mike Perez and the fight with I have to look at his name. Magomed Abdulsalamov, the heavyweight fight before the Triple G and Stevens fight, which was another really interesting fight to me. I mean, it was just like two heavyweights that were in shape. It was a 10-round decision. Mike Perez won. He's from Cuba, which was interesting, Prophet, but he lives in Cork, Ireland. Why would a Cuban go to Ireland? Do you understand that?
It was great the way HBO was harping on it. Irish Mike Perez, and he defected from Cuba. I think he was at some sort of boxing competition, and he just went to Ireland and sort of lived there. And I think it was great. But before we talk about that fight real quickly, there are rumors, circulating on social media that Triple G's next opponent could be Martin Murray in Monte Carlo in February. And I think that would be a good fight for him because I've gone on our show on numerous occasions, and I said that I thought Martin Murray deserved a decision over Sergio Martinez in Argentina in Martinez's last fight. So hopefully that fight will come to fruition, and Martin Murray can give Triple G some sort of test and, just make it seem human at least, or make it somewhat competitive. But getting back to the fight, it's with the exception of what happened to it's such
Magomed. Yeah,
Magomed. Unfortunately,
Russian.
What happened to the fight was great. I mean, we wish we sort of got that war out of Seth Mitchell and Jonathan Banks and/or Klitschko against Povetkin. Those were two horrible heavyweight fights. And this fight, it was astonishing because Perez took 2012 off. He didn't even fight at all in 2012, only had one fight this year, and it was just basically a war. They fought back and forth for the 10 rounds. I had Perez winning kind of easily, 7 rounds to 3. But Abdul Azamov broke his left hand in the second round, so he couldn't use being that, he is a southpaw, he couldn't use that hand for the rest of the fight. He was busted up. He did land several uppercuts that sort of, got Perez's attention. At least in the early rounds, it was somewhat competitive. But then in the later rounds, Perez poured it on. And this is why, when we were talking a couple of shows ago, everyone was criticizing Mike Alvarado's corner for throwing in the towel in his fight. Abdul-Samad almost had too much courage and too much guts for his own good. And even though he rattled Perez early on, after the fifth round, you could see that Perez was winning every round decisively. Yes, Abdul-Samad had his moments. He's a big guy. He would land an occasional haymaker to get Perez's attention. Perez, amazingly enough, looks like a cruiserweight, not really a heavyweight because he's so tiny, but he lands compact punches, and his volume punching clearly seized the day, over Abdul-Masad's one haymaker at a time sort of game plan. And, you felt bad for the Russian. And just so, people say, fighters should move on, I want to tell everyone what happened because, I did my research. He went to the hospital, Abdul-Samad, after the fight to get his hand checked and his nose and the cuts that he had all over his face. But he complained that he was dizzy and he wasn't feeling well when he got to the hospital. So doctors discovered that after doing extensive tests that that his brain was bleeding, and they had to do an operation on him Sunday. They removed the blood clot from his brain, and they had to remove a small portion of his skull to relieve all the pressure in the brain. And they had to put him in a medically induced coma to allow the brain swelling to go down. And it's hard to point. You don't want to point fingers because boxing's a rough and brutal sport. But who knows what could have happened if Alvarado was allowed to continue in his fight several weeks ago. There's a reason why you have trainers in your corner. And as early as the second or the third round, I remember the Russian saying, is my jaw cut? Is my not cut? Is my jaw broken?
Right, I remember that.
My nose, my jaw. He kept on complaining, and I thought that Perez would get the early TKO victory. So here, you have a guy who was too gutsy for his own good. And boxing fans all over the country will say this guy's got guts, this guy's got courage, and he does. But in hindsight, the corner should have stopped. He should have quit. Obviously, he doesn't know the meaning of the word quit, but the corner should have stopped, with their obligation to stop the fight. It was becoming one-sided, especially in the later rounds. And, I don't think Abdul-Samad will fight again. I hear that he's stable now. There were conflicting reports. From what I heard last time I checked was that he's stable, and I believe he was still in the coma. I'm not sure. But, for Perez going forward, he can't really fight with the Klitschko's because he doesn't have the size. He doesn't have the reach advantage of a Klitschko. But certainly I'd love to see Perez against any of the contenders coming up. A Bryant, Bye-Bye Jennings, a Chris Arreola, a Stavern. Heck, I even thought of Deontay Wilder, who he interviewed a couple of weeks ago on the show. I would love to see Irish Mike Perez and Deontay Wilder get it on. That's a can't-miss brawl right there. But at the end of the day, all our thoughts and prayers are with Abdul-Masad. I can't reiterate enough gutsy, courageous performance he turned in. But also, with the good comes the bad. And you have to say that the cornermen, the trainers, even the referee, they have to be on top of the action. And even if a fighter wants to go on, they got to realize that the fight's, becoming a mismatch. And, Perez took his best shots early. There was no way Perez was going to get knocked out. And they should have, stopped it. But you know what they say? Hindsight, what's that expression? Hindsight's 20/20 or hindsight, or whatever that expression is. But,
I know what you're talking about, but yeah, after the fight, I was looking at him in the ring, and he looked terrible. You could tell something was the matter. But you're in the midst of it as a referee. You're in the midst of it, and then you have the doctor, and you have to leave it. Hopefully, the doctor will know the right thing to say, and I don't know. I don't even remember. Did they even have the doctor look at him during the fight? I don't think so.
I don't recall them, no. I don't recall them looking at all, no.
Yeah. I guess they just didn't, obviously they didn't think he was that bad, you know. I mean, the corner is there to protect him, and they're the ones that really should be, they know their fighter. If something is off, like Rudy Hernandez, who stopped Mike Alvarado, you have to say enough is enough. Nothing is worth the life, you know, when you're in that ring. It's not worth it to die and leave your family, and if you have kids and everything else, you can fight another day. So the corner has to be accountable as well, and I'm not blaming anybody because they're probably not doctors. Either is the referee. That's why if you have any doubt, you bring the fighter to the doctor so then they can look at it. But, you know, your account of Magomed Abdulsalamov was very good, Prophet, and we all send our prayers and well wishes. I heard that yesterday he was in critical condition, and then, you know, it's debatable. I don't think the hospital, because of the Privacy Act, wanted to say too much, but his people said that he's stable. So I'm hoping he's stable. We definitely send our prayers and well wishes. And we're going to go to a commercial, and we'll be right back talking about the rest of the fight card this weekend with Real Combat Media Boxing Radio.
This is Real Combat Media Radio. Check us out at realcombatmedia.com. While you're there, check out the Feed the Poor link on the bottom of every article, and you can send a donation if you're interested. That is, once again, on the bottom of every article as well as on the top of the website. If you are an MMA, boxing, or fitness business and interested in sponsoring our website or radio podcast, send us an email. Advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Once again, that is advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Make sure to check out the Real Combat Media MMA and boxing store at the top of the menu at realcombatmedia.com. We carry a collection of products. We have the Cardio Mask, which is excellent for all fighters, endurance athletes, and serious fitness enthusiasts. Once you are in the Real Combat Media store, click on the banner on that page. We also carry Alpha Brain. Alpha Brain is a great and natural product which activates your brain's neurotransmitters and helps you think more clearly, which improves brain function. You can also purchase the world's healthiest plant protein, which comes from hemp. There are many other products online on the online store, and click on the On It banner at the Real Combat Media store, and you can purchase Alpha Brain and other health products. Use the discount code Real Combat Media, and you will receive 10% off at the checkout store on the On It. That is ONNIT on the banner at Real Combat Media store. Buckle up. Here we go. Let's get this show started.
Welcome back to Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. This is episode 34. I'm your host, Christy Rosario, here with my boxing prophet. He's my co-host. And live callers, you can call 347-324-5998, or you can Twitter us at Real Combat Media, or find us in Facebook at Real Combat Media in the search bar. And we are back, and this weekend we have a lot of fights, really good fights. As we just spoke to Demetrius Andrade and Vanes Martirosyan, we also have Vic Darchinyan and Nonito Donaire is going to be our next fight, and I think we should talk about them now. Now, what is your prophecy, Prophet, on this fight?
Well, Donaire has to rebound. It's not only good for Donaire to win this fight. He's got to dominate. He was on everyone's pound-for-pound list before he was kind of exposed against Rigondeaux. I wasn't one of Donaire's biggest fans. You know, a lot of people had him in their top 5 pound-for-pound. I thought that was a stretch. Maybe if you want to put him like number 8 and 9, that's fine with me. It's kind of feast or famine with Donaire. He either wins by exciting and violent knockouts like he did against Darchinyan early in his career, and Fernando Montiel and Jorge Arce, all spectacular early round knockouts, or he sort of like goes through the motions and just wins very lackluster decisions, like the Jeffrey Matabule fight and the fight with the Japanese fighter Nishioka. Yes, he scores knockdowns, and I should say actually the Nishioka fight, he stopped him late, but, you know, he just didn't look all that impressive. You know, he scores a knockdown. You know, he might win in the later rounds by TKO, but he just does enough to win, and then he blames it on his legs clamping up. which was kind of what Manny Pacquiao used to say during his fights, that his legs would clamp up and he couldn't fight as well as he wanted to. You know, Darkinian's best days are behind him. I believe he's lost 2 of his last 5 fights. He's moving up in weight. Back in his day, he used to be a devastating puncher, Darkinian, and you always gave him a puncher's chance. But now that they're both moving up in weight, I don't think he has that puncher's chance. I think he'll fight with no caution whatsoever, Darkinian. He'll go to knockout Donaire. He wants revenge in the worst way. He's a very, very prideful man, Darkinian. He's the kind of guy that's willing to go out on his shield. He'll take, you know, any sort of calculated risk to win this fight. The key is, which Nonito Donaire will we see? Will we see the pound-for-pound king, Nonito Donaire, who's not just complacent with victory, who wants to make a statement? Will he go out there and, you know, knock out Darkinian like he did in the first fight in explosive fashion and prove to the world that the Rigondeaux fight was just styles? You know, styles make fights, and Rigondeaux has that unorthodox Cuban style that gave him fits. Or will we see the Nonito Donaire that just wants to win? You know, I'll pile up the points, I'll win 9 out of the 12 rounds, and then, you know, I'll live to fight another day, and then my huge payday will come somewhere down the road against someone else. I think you'll see a little bit of both. I think in the early rounds he'll box. Darkinian might even fight dirty to try and get under Donaire's skin, but eventually Donaire knows that a second consecutive loss would totally damage his career as a marketable fighter on HBO. So I think in the early rounds he'll box beautifully. He'll show a little bit of lateral movement. He'll use the jab. Darkinian will get frustrated. Darkinian will rattle him, get his attention. He'll fight dirty, maybe even use his head on a couple of occasions. But I see Nonito Donaire systematically, you know, wearing down Darkinian, scoring a knockdown in round number 9. Darkinian's corner will throw in the towel, knowing that their fighter, you know, is kind of past his prime. And I think Darkinian may actually, I know he's a prideful man, but I wouldn't be surprised if he announces his retirement after this fight if he loses. Maybe going into the 9th round, you have it 6 rounds to 2 for Donaire. But, you know, in spots, it'll be an uneven performance for Nonito. I think in spots, you'll say to yourself, the former pound-for-pound guy is back. And then in other spots, you'll say he looked kind of boring. But nevertheless, he'll get the job done, and I think he'll stop Darkinian in round number 9.
Okay, so, well, as far as the Raging Bull, Vic Darchinyan, he actually won his last 2 fights. He won against Javier Gallo and Luis Orlando Del Valle. So he won against Javier Gallo, TKO in the 4th round, and Orlando Del Valle, he got a unanimous decision in the 10th round. If we want to look at their records, let's see here. So we have Vic Darchinyan, do I say that right? Vic Darchinyan, who is the Raging Bull. He has 45 fights, 139, KO'd 28, lost 5, and he's been KO'd once. It was 1 draw. Then we have Nonito Donaire, who has 33 fights, 31 that he's won, KO'd 20, lost 2, never been KO'd or anything else. The fight with Guillermo Rigondeaux, I always say Rigondeaux. Anyways, Guillermo was just fantastic. As for me, you know, watching the technical, wasn't good for the Nonito, don't get me wrong. For Guillermo, he's such a technician. He's a gold medalist in the Olympics. I don't understand why we don't see him fighting. It really bothers me because he is fantastic, and he made Nonito look pretty amateurish because Nonito didn't have a plan B, C, or D, which he needed with Guillermo. And I'm thinking, you know, he's with Robert Garcia, his trainer, and I think they're going to totally revamp, and you're going to see a new Nonito tomorrow. As far as Darchinyan, he is, he's a strong guy. He will not give up unless, you know, he has to, unless they stop him. And, you know, I don't know. You know me, I'm not the prophet, so I can't say. But in the first fight, Darchinyan was, you know, stopped. It was a TKO. I'm hoping it doesn't happen tomorrow. I'd like to see it go the distance at least. You think there's any chance of it going to the distance, Prophet?
It could, if we see Donaire the boxer more so than Donaire the puncher. If he's very complacent, very lax, and he just boxes his way, to a decision win, it could happen. But if he throws punches, violently, and he wants to make a statement that he's back, I think he's got to go for the TKO victory. But Darkinian, has won 2 in a row, but in his last 5, he does have a loss to Anselmo Moreno, which is no crime because Moreno was a very competent boxer. But he also went to Japan, and he lost to Yamanaka for the WBC bantamweight title. That was overseas in Japan. So my point is just that Darkinian has seen better days before. He's not in his prime. This is his last big test. And I just hope we see the Donaire that, electrifies the audience. A lot of his performances, like I alluded to before, he just uses his jab, and he just does enough to win. That's why I was kind of surprised that so many boxing fans and prognosticators all had him in their top 5 pound for pound, because a lot of his performances are uneven at best. And I just want to see Donaire turn in complete performances every time he fights. That's what the great fighters do. That's what the Wards do and the Mayweathers, guys of that ilk. Even Triple G's on his way, to doing that. So it's not enough for Donaire to just go through the motions and win against Darkinian. He's got to make a statement. He's got to either win a decisive decision but beat up Darkinian, or knock him out. Just win decisively, make a statement, and prove to the world that you're back. And for the record, I agree with you, on Rigondeaux. He turned in a virtuoso boxing performance for the ages. There's something to be said about the art of the sweet science, hit and not being hit. That was who I grew up, watching when I was a fan, back in the 80s and the 90s. Pure boxers, like Sugar Ray Leonard and Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, guys that used the jab and lateral movement. It's no crime to throw a jab. And Rigondeaux's being punished because he's not some guy who's face first and wants to brawl. There's no crime in loving to box. And hopefully in a perfect world, Rigondeaux, there are some rumors that he's going to fight, I don't know, before the end of the year, who knows. But hopefully we'll see in a perfect world, we'll see Rigondeaux not only back in the ring, but earning a sizable paycheck against a very, very top-level opponent.
I hope so. That's the fight I'd like to see. I want to comment on something. I was looking in Mexico on November 9th, the same night as these fights. They have 2 female bouts. They have one, Yasmin Rivas versus Marilyn Rivas. Oh, I guess Rivas is going to win. They're both Rivas. 12 rounds, bantamweight division. And then we have, who do we have here? Irma Garcia versus Magali Rodriguez. And, what's amazing to me is that in Mexico, they barely let women fight. It's just been recent. It hasn't been too many years. The United States has been a lot longer. Yet we're not seeing women fight on the cards now these days. And yet in Mexico, like Ava Knight just fought against the Mexican girl. I'm sorry, I forget her name totally. And the girl actually beat Ava Knight, and it was a great fight with a huge audience, a beautiful stadium. Why can't we have more of that here, Prophet?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. We were talking off the air, and I said part of my bucket list that I'm making for myself is that I go see a fight overseas, whether it's in England, whether it's at Wembley Stadium, whether it's in Mexico, because they're a lot, I don't want to say they're more passionate than the U.S. fans, but there are female fights that take place overseas. The crowd seems to be a lot more into it. And, just for the record, I want people to, if they can, I knew that this was going to be a war before the fights on HBO last weekend. It was on Unimas in New York. You had Giovanni Segura against Hernan Tyson Marquez. It was a fight at the flyweight division. Both guys former champions. Segura was a former WBA light flyweight champion. Hernan Marquez, former WBA flyweight champion. They were in a title eliminator. And for 12 rounds, they just literally beat the crap out of each other. The fans were going nuts. I wish I was in Mexico. I saw this fight Sunday. I DVR'd it. and it was just unbelievable. The ebb and flows. You had 3 knockdowns. Marquez went down 3 times, but every time he got up, round 11 was unequivocally the round of the year. Marquez got knocked down, came back to hurt Segura at the end of the round. Finally, Segura knocked out Marquez with a beautiful, picture-perfect left hook in the 12th round. It's just a fight that's absolutely brutal and a must-see for all hardcore boxing fans or fans that just want to see, 2 guys just going at it, sort of like, Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti, their first fight, and the late, great Diego Corrales' first fight with Jose Luis Castillo. Get it on YouTube. I'm sure it's available on YouTube. If you missed the fight, you got to catch it. Giovanni Segura's 12th round TKO over Hernan Tyson Marquez last Saturday in Mexico. A must-watch for all boxing fans, not only in the U.S., but worldwide.
Wow, I have to watch that fight. I didn't see it. That sounds fantastic. I'm going to have to look on YouTube. I want to tell you, on November 11th in San Antonio, Texas, on Fox Sports 1, we have Luis Ramos Jr. versus Fidel Maldonado Jr. This is 10 rounds junior welterweight division. And we're going to have Fernando Guerrero versus, to be arranged, in a 10 rounds middleweight division. So that's interesting, Fox Sports 1. I like that.
It's good.
Okay,
Fox
Prophet.
Sports 1. Yeah, Fox Sports 1 is sort of like ESPN, that they're showing a lot more cars. And, for those that say boxing is quote-unquote dead, it's being televised now by so many channels, it makes my head spin. It's getting a lot more publicity, a lot more exposure on many different networks. Everyone has this misconception that if it's not on HBO or it's not on Showtime or pay-per-view, you can't watch boxing anymore, but it's just not true. There's boxing all over cable networks, and it's great. It gives young fighters and veteran fighters the exposure that they need, and I think it's great. Boxing's quote-unquote, death, the death of boxing has been greatly, greatly exaggerated. To me, it'll always be the sport of champions, and it's refreshing. It's fun to see. It's fun to see. In a perfect world, we get female fights, because I know you're passionate about that. Female fighters would be on ESPN and Fox, but the good news is that even if they only do like Fox Sports and these other channels that only do it once a month or once every 5 months, it's still great to see young prospects and veterans who you wouldn't ordinarily see, back in the day, getting the exposure that they deserve. So it's great for the sport. I love it.
I like it. I like more competition for HBO and Showtime too. And you should be passionate about it too. You should want to see fights. It shouldn't matter if it's male or female. We just want to see good fights. I'm passionate about fighting. I'm passionate about boxing. I want to see great male fights. I want to see great female fights. It should not matter what gender they are. That's what I have to say. Now we have to move on because we got to go to Mikey Garcia and Roman Martinez. And I also want to say that on the same card with all these guys, we have Nicholas Walters and Alberto Garza, 12 rounds featherweight division, just in case nobody knows that. So we're here with Mikey Garcia, who's also fighting against Roman Martinez Rocky. Let's see. So Mikey, who we've had on the show a couple of times, great guy, Miguel Garcia. He's won 32, KO'd 27 with no losses and no draws. And then we have Roman Martinez, who has 30 fights, won 27, 15 KOs. He's lost 1 and has 2 draws. All right, Prophet, what do you see about this fight? I'm afraid to ask.
Yeah, well, I think it has the word mismatch written all over it. Roman Martinez, I know, you got to love him because I believe, I don't know if he's from, I'm confused as to whether or not he's from Mexico or
Puerto Rico. Come on now.
Well, this is why I wanted to. It's the calm before the storm. Like I remember seeing him.
Puerto Rico. I'm sorry, I just got all excited. He's Puerto Rican.
Yes, and he's been involved in 3 consecutive controversial bouts. I saw all of them. One I saw live at the theater at Madison Square Garden when he fought Juan Carlos Burgos. I scored that fight 7 rounds to 5 for Burgos, but the judges had a draw. Before that, he fought Miguel Beltran Jr., won a split decision. I scored it 7 rounds to 5 for Beltran Jr. And then in his last fight, he fought Diego Magdaleno, another split decision, as Magdaleno winning that fight 8 rounds to 4. So I don't know, maybe the powers that be love the fact that Rocky Martinez is from Puerto Rico, and they want him to retain his title by any means necessary, but something's just not kosher, Christy. I mean, the guy's been involved in 3 very, very competitive fights that really could have gone either way. If you put a gun to my head, I thought he should have lost all 3 times, and he came away with 2 wins and a draw. And I think the buck stops here. I know you have a personal interest because he's from Puerto Rico and you love Mikey Garcia. He's been on the show a couple of times, but Garcia is sort of like Triple G and Adrian Broner. There were 2 fighters that, when the torch is passed, when we're done at the end of the day talking about Floyd Mayweather and talking about Andre Ward, Mikey Garcia is in that discussion with Adrian Broner and Triple G as the 2 or 3 fighters that will carry the sport for the next 5 or 10 years. And Garcia has looked like a total beast in his last 2 fights against Juan Manuel Lopez and Orlando Toledo, respectively. He can box. He can slug. There are kind of no chinks in his armor, at least that I'm aware of. He can do it all, and I think he's just going to expose Roman Rocky Martinez. I just think, regardless of what Martinez tries to do, he can't outbox Garcia. He can't outslug him. He can't hurt him with his power shots. It's just a fight that is tailor-made for Garcia to look spectacular in winning. I would absolutely be shocked. If the fight does go to distance, Garcia wins easily 10 out of the 12 rounds. But I would kind of be shocked, just like I was kind of shocked that Curtis Stevens went 8 rounds with Triple G, and I almost guaranteed you Triple G would win in 3, which shows you how much people value my guarantees. But shocked if this fight went past 6 or 7 rounds. I think it'll be an electrifying. The only way it's competitive, sometimes in prize fights, a guy is so confident in his skills, he fights down to the level of his opposition. So maybe Mikey Garcia doesn't bring his A game because he thinks this guy, is just not on in my league, and maybe I'll carry him for a couple of rounds. But Mikey Garcia doesn't strike me as being that type of fighter. He's very passionate. I think he wants to make a statement. He wants that big payday, at the end of the road. And I think it's just a fight that just absolutely unequivocally will just make him look great, almost maybe better than he is. So I see Mikey Garcia knocking down Roman Rocky Martinez 3 times, and the fight stopped probably around, I'd say round 7. Mikey Garcia by a very, very easy 7th round TKO. And finally, we have a new champion. Rocky Roman Martinez finally loses the belt. And let me just say, I have no ill will towards Martinez. If the judges call it a draw or have him winning, that's fine and dandy. People criticize judges every day. We have on this program before, but I just think he's in way over his head with an in-your-prime young lion in Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia by a very, very easy and one-sided 7th round TKO.
Okay, so you think that Rocky's going to last a little longer than Juanma Lopez, huh?
Yes, I do believe Juanma has, people can say all the negative stuff about Juanma's chin, but at the end of the day, it was Juanma's legs that gave out on him. That's what happens, when you're kind of shot as a fighter. Not only does your chin betray you, but your legs go. Martinez has, fresh legs. I just think he can't, his chin might give out. His legs will be there, but his chin might give out. And Garcia hits hard. And I don't think Garcia is going to knock him down or out with one punch. Martinez can take a punch. I think it'll have to be vicious 4 or 5 punch combinations that lead to Martinez's downfall. If Garcia goes in there and thinks he can only land one power shot at a time, he's got another thing coming. He's got to be a precise puncher like he always is, and he'll knock down Martinez like he did Juanma and Salido with beautiful, crisp 4 or 5 punch combinations.
There you have it. There is the boxing prophecy. I just still want to know how you get these. Is it something comes to you, or do you dream about it? How do you get your little prophecies?
It's not really a prophecy. What I like to do is that I watch fights, and when I analyze a fight, I study the tapes of previous performances, and I just like any like a doctor studies his patient, whatever. I just study the fights and I analyze it, and then I make my pick, and that's what I'm passionate about. Some people love scoring fights. Some people love watching fights. I love both watching and scoring, but I just love analyzing a fight. Like being sort of like what Harold Letterman does on HBO when he scores the fights and he breaks it down. I just love it. And one more quick point, Christy, before I go. I wanted to bring this up. The post-fight interview with Triple G and Curtis Stevens, I have to give a shout-out to Max Kellerman for finally growing a pair of testicles. Triple G was being sort of a braggart, and rightly so, I guess, because Curtis Stevens, was talking a big game and sort of insulting Triple G. But then Triple G became this cocky guy, saying, I am the champion. I'll fight anybody. And Max Kellerman, who's the most politically correct interviewer I've ever seen, it seemed like he lost his temper. And he looked at Triple G and he said, name me one, as if one fighter, you're going to call out. And then Triple G sort of laughed and said, Peter Quillin, Sergio Martinez, I'll fight anybody. And I just remember looking at the TV set at that moment saying, wow, Max Kellerman actually has testicles. And it was great. It sort of almost was better than the fight itself.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Nice to know. I mean, I never doubted that Max Kellerman had testicles. All right, so here, we're going to go back to Mexico for the fight on the 9th. Andres Gutierrez versus Ernie Sanchez, 12 rounds, junior featherweight division. And then here on the 10th, on Sunday, there's a lot of fighting going on, a lot of boxing. In Tokyo, here we go. Remember, you just mentioned him. Shinsuke Yamanaka versus Alberto Guevara, 12 rounds, bantamweight division. So what do you think? This is for Yamanaka's WBC title. What do you think of that fight?
Yamanaka's a very underrated fighter. I think he should cruise to a decision victory. And, he might get, if it's close, he could get the home country decision, if you get my drift.
I get your drift. We also have on that card in Tokyo, Richard Abril versus Jorge Linares, 12 rounds lightweight division for Abril's WBA title. There are a lot of different titles, aren't there? Takashiro A.O. Versus Alan Herrera, 10 rounds lightweight division. And we have Roman Gonzalez, number 1 junior flyweight, versus Oscar Blanket, 10 rounds flyweight division. Any comments on any of those fights?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Last time I checked, I think the Abril Linares fight might be off. One of them was injured, I think. I'm not sure. But with Roman Gonzalez, he's the best fighter in the world that no one's heard of because he's in the lower weight classes. He's on the cusp of greatness. He's ready to crack my top 12 pound for pound. He just needs to get in there with a big, big name. But if you can watch him fight, he's just a joy to watch. Power, speed. He's everything that's right with the sport of boxing, but no one follows those weight classes, junior flyweights and flyweights, because they're so little, no one seems to follow him. He's great, but just before we go, Christy, because we're running out of time, I implore, I just want all boxing fans, run to YouTube and watch Segura against Hernan Marquez, fight of the year.
All right, Pastor, we have to go. We heard you, and you have a good evening. It was great hosting with you today, but we have to go. So this has been another great show. I really enjoyed speaking with Peter Kid Chocolate Quillin and Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. We will be back next Tuesday at 4 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, with an episode 35 with Olympic bronze medalist Marlon Esparza and pro referee judge Jack Reese. Thank you, WBAN, Sue Fox, for always being awesome and putting our press releases up. And we will thank you for joining us on Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. Have a fantastic week. Take care.